Global happenings today. We communicate. We analyze global news. Stay tuned. The former president of Nigeria has finally reacted to the outrage by Buhari's scam over the statement he made during the book launch at Abuja, authored by Rabo, the former defense minister. Now, during the book launch, he made some statement which, according to the camp of Buhari, was outrightly a way of linking Buhari to Boko Haram. But guess what? Jonathan is back again, and you get to hear his viewpoint via a statement that he released today. Let's dive into full details of the news. According to the news, former President Goodluck Jonathan has clarified that he never implicated former President Muhammadu Buhari in his recent speech about Boko Haram activities in Nigeria. Jonathan, in a statement on Saturday, said certain reports in the media suggesting that he alleged that Boko Haram nominated the late President Buhari to represent them in dialogue with the federal government and therefore somehow complicit in the Boko Haram crisis are misleading. Submitted that the comments on Buhari and Boko Haram were grossly misinterpreted. Can be recalled that Jonathan spoke on Friday in Abuja at the public presentation of Scars, a book authored by the former Chief of Defense Staff, General Lucky Erabo, retired. His comments, however, have attracted series of backlash. In a statement by the Special Advisor on Media and Public Affairs, Ikechukwu, Jonathan, however, clarified that he was referring to the deceitful nature of the insurgent in his speech. He explained that Boko Haram often invoked the name of respected public figures to sow confusion, exploit political division, and undermine political confidence in government. The statement added that Jonathan's comments were not an accusation against the late former president or any other individual. It read thus: "Say the attention of the office of the former president Goodluck Jonathan has been drawn to misleading reports circulating in section of the media suggesting that Dr. Jonathan alleged that Boko Haram nominated the late President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR, to represent them in dialogue with the federal government, and therefore this made him somehow complicit in the Boko Haram crisis. We wish to make it abundantly clear that the former president's comments were grossly misrepresented. At no time did Dr. Jonathan suggest, imply, or insinuated that President Buhari had any connection with Boko Haram or that he supported the group in any form." Dr. Jonathan's remark, made in the course of a broader discussion on Nigerian security challenges, were meant to illustrate the diverseness and manipulative strategy employed by the Boko Haram in their early years. His reference was to a well-documented episode where various individuals and factions falsely claimed to represent the terrorist group and purported to name prominent Nigerians as possible mediators without those individuals' knowledge or content. The point Dr. Jonathan sought to make was that Boko Haram, in its characteristic deceit, often invoke the names of respected public figures to sow confusion, exploit political division, and undermine public confidence in government. His comments were therefore an illustration of the group's duplicity, not an accusation against the late former president or any individual for that matter. The former president's position was that if indeed Buhari was their choice negotiator, why didn't Boko Haram expeditiously bring their evil terrorist agenda to an end when the retired general became the president? For the avoidance of doubt, Dr. Jonathan recognizes that President Muhammadu Buhari, like every patriotic Nigerian, stood firmly against terrorism and was himself a target of Boko Haram violence. Both men, during their respective tenures, shared a common commitment to restoring peace and stability to Nigeria. The office of the former president therefore urged the public to disregard any misinterpretation of his remark. Dr. Jonathan remained committed to peace, unity, and the strengthening of democratic values in Nigeria. He believes that the nation's progress depends on a truthful understanding of its challenges, not on the distortion of facts for political or sensational purpose. That was the viewpoint of the former president. And I must say that this is a swift move in correcting the abnormality that was out there in the public. I don't know why it was interpreted that way. And interestingly, the way that the late former president's camp came at Jonathan, it was as though they were very intentional in the fact that they were out to make sure that they frustrate his fame in the north, because we know that late Buhari had so much fame in the northern part of Nigeria, and anything that you say against him may end up stripping you of any form of support that you get from there. But thank God for the clarification, and I wish that this clarification was not just being written and posted somewhere. It should have been read, possibly in the news, in a media house, so that everybody will get to hear it, so that if there's any intention to frustrate his intended plan of running for 2027 election, this will serve as a kind of plea to garner more support for himself. Whatever that had happened in the past, especially about Boko Haram. Boko Haram, unfortunately, is a brainchild of the poor situation and the poor governmental attention towards the people's abandonment. People have been abandoned for too long, and that was what bettered all of that. I love the fact that during that book launch, someone like Matthew Coker took out time to tell Nigerians the real purpose of Boko Haram, that name Boko Haram was given to them by Nigerians. That was not their real name. Their real name, he mentioned their real name, and it was intended towards congratizing on their belief system, but had nothing to do with Boko Haram, all of that. It's a serious issue, but thank God that it has been fixed once and for all. Let's meet in a commission and talk more on this.